Coming up, a grass fire in Amaretto destroys a home and several vehicles.
Area police departments are struggling to fill openings.
Plus, highlights from President Joe Biden's first address to a joint session of Congress. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again.
Speaking to Congress for the first time since taking office, President Joe Biden pitched universal preschool, free community college, and monthly payments to parents.
The president marked his first 100 days in office by celebrating his progress against the coronavirus and urging a $1.8 trillion investment into children and families that would fundamentally transform the role the government plays in American life. History was made tonight. Behind Biden sat two women from California, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Kamala Harris, both the first women to hold their positions.
Here in the Valley, several area police departments are looking to hire. In West Fargo, they're looking to fill 3 openings, but are finding it a struggle.
Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor has more on the type of applicant the department is seeking.
The West Fargo Police Department is looking to hire a few new officers.
Our city is continuing to grow at a very rapid rate, so these are new positions that we've added to the department. So we're trying to hire people to fill those added positions as our city continues to grow.
Assistant Police Chief Jerry Boyer said the department wants to hire people with life experience.
Just different aspects of people who can really show empathy and compassion for our citizens of our community.
According to Boyer, the department has seen a decline in interested applicants over the last 10 years. And in a climate where there is heightened mistrust in police, Boyer says the department isn't cutting any corners.
We will not lower our hiring standards. We will continue to strive to hire the absolute best. And if that means leaving a position open until we find that person, we will do that.
Boyer also believes the people applying to get into law enforcement are individuals wanting to make a difference in the community. In West Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
West Fargo Police will be accepting applications until May 31st. For more information on where to apply, you can visit our website, valleynewslive.com.
An out-of-control grass fire destroyed a house and several vehicles in Amaretto, North Dakota today. Valley News Team's Aaron Walling has been on the scene for hours and joins us now live with details. Aaron?
Thanks, Mike. And yes, the fire is still burning. If you actually take a look behind me, the remnants of the fire is still going on. Fire chief on scene said that that's the railroad ties. Those are going to be burning throughout the night. And actually in some areas around this neighborhood, there's actually still some fires. Small ones, nothing too big. Fire chief and the fire marshal were out here earlier to investigate the fire. Now, they said that only one house burnt down. And on top of it, there were 4 fire departments that were out here battling the fire. You had Amaretto, Thompson, Manville, and Grand Forks Air Force Base. Now, the fire chief on scene said that there were 2 houses that were close to being caught in the fire, but thankfully to the 4 different fire departments, they were able to battle it before getting to those homes. And they also said 3 to 4 vehicles were caught in the fire as well. Now, I spoke with the assistant fire chief, and he says that grass fires are extremely dangerous.
Grass fires are actually very, very dangerous. It seems like it's just grass that's burning, but you know, with the wind changing on you, it can swirl around you and get in behind you before you even realize it. So it's a very dangerous thing.
Now, Mike, Andrea, I can tell you this much. The air is still thick with smoke. We should be learning more information of what caused this fire tomorrow. For now, back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Aaron. And authorities are reminding people to be extra careful during these dry conditions. They say one spark and a little wind can lead to trouble, just like you saw.
A judge in the Cavalier area has pleaded guilty to misdemeanors in connection with a hunting incident. Scott Holmquist accepted his charges in an incident that took place in November. Holmquist encouraged his son to illegally shoot a white-tailed deer without a rifle tag. Holmquist then used a tag from someone else and placed it on the buck, and then informed his son on how to dispose of it and cover up the crime. He pleaded guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor and for hunting big game animals that are protected.
Norman Clark, 65, from Ross, North Dakota, 3/15/2020.
Union leaders in the Fargo-Moorhead area tonight honored 18 workers who've died on the job. It was in honor of Workers' Memorial Day. Workers and families shared personal experiences and called for stronger worker protections in North Dakota and Minnesota.
It means that they're not going to be forgotten, that we have to keep working hard to make sure that everyone is safe at work and we all come home at the end of the day.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz also acknowledged Workers' Memorial Day. Since 1960, 35 MnDOT workers and 16 contractors have lost their lives while working on Minnesota highways.
A Walmart employee is getting praise tonight, credited for helping crack the case against a man accused of painting racist graffiti on a Moorhead mosque Saturday night.
That's a community member that's saying, I don't like what happened here, and I'm going to take it upon myself to try and help the police out here because I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Chief Monroe says the woman found recent history of someone buying red spray paint at the store and says receipts led detectives to 22-year-old Benjamin Enderly. Police say they executed a search warrant at his home last night, and when interviewed, police say he confessed. Enderly is expected to appear in court tomorrow, where formal charges and more details of the case will be outlined. Make sure to stick with Valley News Live for the latest.
We're learning more about a former Fargo middle school teacher who resigned after allegations of misconduct. Rayan resigned over accusations of inappropriate conduct towards students. Students reported to the principal at Carl Ben Eielson that Rayan, who taught social studies, had been touching female students' backs, arms, and shoulders, moving their hair and making inappropriate comments. He faced two similar incidents, one in 2015, another in 2016, at one point spanking a student in front of another teacher. If you need help uncovering an issue in your community, here's some advice. Call our whistleblower hotline. We'll do our best to get to the bottom of it. Call 701-237-6576 and leave your tip.
Governor Doug Burgum has signed a bill that creates an online tracking system for sexual assault evidence kits. Sometimes those kits are collected but not submitted to the state lab for reasons including a lack of resources or the victim choosing not to report the crime. This new law ensures all kits are submitted to the state lab and survivors can track it every step of the way through a barcode.
We're really excited for this law to make big changes for survivors of sexual assault because it's going to give them the control and ability to follow their evidence.
Attorney General Wayne Stenhjem says North Dakota is only the 8th state to implement such a system.
A Minnesota school district is investigating reports of a student using racist language to ask another student to prom. A photo allegedly taken in Big Lake is making the rounds on social media. It shows two young people holding this racist sign. District officials say racism is not condoned, but they can't share more because of privacy laws.
Long-term care facilities were closed to visitors for months during the pandemic. Families had to get creative to see their loved ones, some making video calls or looking through windows. Soon, facilities may be required to allow in-person visitation, regardless of any state of emergency. State lawmakers passed a bill requiring state agencies and long-term care facilities to allow at least one person to be given face-to-face access during a lockdown.
This is a bill that I've been working on for quite a few months and has really become a passion project of mine. And I really hope that our families can feel like they are supported and able to have those hugs with grandma again.
Now, the bill doesn't apply to facilities that are under federal rules instead of state rules. The bill now goes to the governor. A proposal for a state-backed theme and amusement park in Jamestown has been withdrawn. The idea has been mocked as a symbol of wasteful spending. A conference committee scrapped the provision. The facility was planned for state-owned land adjacent to I-94 near the existing National Buffalo Museum.
The quick actions of two people may have saved a man's life in Grand Forks. Max Napier passed out behind the wheel after a combination of low blood pressure and new medication. Two strangers who were at a nearby gas station saw the events unfold. They not only called 911, but took the man's car home and then drove his wife to the hospital.
They're just good people, and I want to thank them. It's nice to have people that were willing to help. You know, it's just perfect strangers that we never met before.
The Good Samaritans didn't want to be named, but they did say it was just the right thing to do.
A juror is now talking about his decision to convict Derek Chauvin for murdering George Floyd. Brandon Mitchell calls the experience stressful and draining, but he says coming to a unanimous decision was rewarding.
And reporter Jennifer Meyerly tells us what sealed the case for him.
Brandon Mitchell says the jury got right to work once they got the Chauvin case. After picking a jury foreperson and voting to work with masks off, they first took a vote on the manslaughter charge.
We went around the room, everybody discussed what their views were. It took about 45 minutes, we voted again, and when we did guilty on that, then we actually called it a day at that point.
He says they only deliberated about 1 hour the first day and maybe 4 hours on day 2, starting with discussing the third-degree murder charge and how the law was written before deciding guilt on that charge.
Then the second degree went much quicker because we already had discussed everything we pretty much need. So we went over all the different evidence pieces that we all wanted to. In the second degree, we came to terms on that, and in a pretty quick time frame. 30 minutes or so.
Mitchell took notes throughout the trial and says he referred back to them during deliberations.
What was it about the testimony that led you to a guilty verdict?
For me, I guess what the biggest testimony that encompassed everything was Dr. Tobin's. I felt like the way he described everything in such a scientific manner, but that made sense, though, to everyone.
Dr. Martin Tobin is a leading pulmonologist that testified about the moment George Floyd died.
When did you have your mind made up?
I think at that point with Dr. Tobin. At that point, well, I won't say it was made up then, but it was pretty close. It was like, well, let's see how the defense combats this.
All rise for the jury.
Ultimately, a unanimous verdict on all counts.
When we put in our final vote for guilty on all charges, we all kind of took a sigh of relief. We all kind of looked around and was like, wow, we got through this. It just felt good to be done with it. It felt really good to be done with it and to have come to a conclusion that we all could be comfortable with.
Mitchell says he went home after the judge read the verdict to spend time with his mom and family in Minneapolis.
Minimizes unnecessary work for police officers to expend time and resources on citizens who aren't a public safety threat.
Still ahead tonight on Valley News Live at 10, Minnesota lawmakers craft a bill to avoid the kind of confrontation that cost Dante Wright his life.
But first, a chillier day in store tomorrow before a big warm-up in time for the weekend. Hutch has your forecast right after the break.